My friends, my friends, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. I know we don't want to talk about surface of bowling balls anymore. I mean, we do because we like learning about this stuff and we like trying to kind of, figure out what we can and can't do and what can be an advantage versus not an advantage when we're bowling tournaments and stuff like that or even in league. And we're not going to talk about wiping the ball off. We're not talking about any of that, really. Not today. Today, we are actually going to talk about this study that has been going on from USBC. Some of y'all probably saw their video explaining it and everything. And a lot of it is pretty much stuff we already knew. But they decided that they were going to spend a bunch of money to do the research, which I guess that's their job, right? USBC, that's their job, is to do the research, do all this stuff to be able to determine what we can and can't do in bowling. The unfortunate thing is I think this is a very small part of the problem when it comes to where our sport has gone. I don't think the hardness has that much of an effect. I mean, it has an effect on bowling ball performance, but I think we kind of screwed the pooch back in the day when we allowed the cover stocks and the cores to get to where they are now. But that's another topic for another day. Today we're talking about the release of the video and the data and everything that they came up with from USBC, talking about the urethane balls, essentially, how they get softer over time. But let's read through this real quick. But first, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit the like button, pound that like button. Give me a comment down below. Whatever it is that you can do, the algorithm likes it from YouTube. So let's get started. All right, so United States Bowling Congress, USBC, released a new research report examining how bowling ball hardness changes with the use of performance implications of ball hardness. Key findings of this 2022 report include the following items. Urethane bowling balls get naturally softer with use. We know. USBC data shows friction and shear forces along with lane oil exposure are contributing causes. However, the natural softening of bowling balls through use minimally impacts performance, if at all. So my first question with this is, do the older urethane balls soften the same as the new urethane balls? Because anybody that thinks that the urethane that they're using today is even close to the same as the urethane they used back in the day, I think you're out of your gourd. I think you're out of your mind. Because the old urethane bowling balls, if you try using them today, they are darts. They go straight, like super straight. So, and it really, it doesn't matter how much you grind them up. They just go straight for the most part. But I don't know. I don't believe that they're the same. I think they're obviously different. Obviously, things change over time. The numbers that go into the chemicals of whatever is being used in these bowling balls is obviously different. So, new urethane is completely different today than what it was back in the day. Lower ball hardness at manufacturer clearly impacts performance. Testing two versions of the same model urethane ball with different hardness out of box shows very different performance. The softer ball is stronger. Yeah, so essentially the softer ball is creating a bigger footprint. That footprint meaning, like if you take a tire that is completely filled, it is going to skid on ice and have less, or skid on any surface really, and have less of the surface touching the road. If you deflate some air out and make it a little bit softer, more of that tire presses down on the road and you get more of a footprint. I say that footprint, that's what they call it, touching the road. Same thing with a bowling ball. The more that ball is softer, it sits down on the lane a little bit more. And even though it's just, tiny, tiny, tiny bits, it is still a little bit bigger, still creates and still makes better performance, stronger performance. Chemically altering bowling balls to make them softer significantly impacts performance. The softer, altered bowling balls are stronger. That's kind of what's in question and what people were wondering. Were people noticing that, oh man, these bowling balls got so much better when they were softer. Let's see if we can't make them softer. So they started using kind of like back in the day. Even though these balls all tested good, to get go. Remember back in the day with the old soakers, the bleeders and stuff like that, people would they'd soak them. They'd put them in some type of a chemical and make them softer, and you would see more performance, more hook, and they'd just be overall stronger. So have anybody on tour or in league or anywhere around, has anybody been using this technique? Don't know. We would have to catch them in the act. We would have to have somebody talking about that. I'm not sure. But it is a question that's out there. These materials can be proven to be softer. Now, if we're in a tournament, say we're at a PBA event, and a guy like Sean Rash, who doesn't like the Purple Hammer, what if he looks at Buttriff and says, I don't trust that ball. I don't trust that he wasn't soaking this, because now we have data out here that shows they get softer with chemical, by inducing chemicals into them and soaking them in a chemical or whatever, changing the surface. I want that ball tested. Can he take it to Tom Clark or whoever the tournament director is, Bobby Jekyll or, Mr. Weber? Are they going to look at that ball, and are they going to go and test the hardness on the spot to figure it out? And is that even fair? Because this test shows that through performance, while you're bowling, that bowling ball is getting softer because of it going through the belts and the shaker boards and through the ball return and everything else. It's hitting pins. I mean, just the oil from the lane. This study shows that the bowling ball gets softer. So how do we know that the bowling ball wasn't above the number to start, and then it found its way below it while he was bowling? There's going to be some problems there if somebody really wants to be nitpicky, because I think in the rules you're allowed to call somebody out and have a ball tested. I don't know. I'd have to go back and read the rule book again, but I'm pretty sure you can have balls tested on the spot. I could be wrong about that. So if one of you all want to go look at the PBA rule book or even the USBC rule book and stuff at their tournaments, the Masters, US Open, go look at their rules and tell me if I'm right or wrong. I'm not sure. But I think that can be an issue. And I think it has happened before. So look for that to be an issue as well coming up probably the next year. If people are making a lot of noise with some of these bowling balls again, you're going to have guys like that not happy about it. So what's the right move here? We obviously know these new materials are changing so much. We know they're causing problems. We know they're causing drama. What's the right move? Like, should they just be eliminated? I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily have that opinion. Although I am tired of getting my brains kicked in by Justin Knowles and all the local stuff. But it's the bowler, not the ball. Right, Justin? I love you, buddy. Justin's a great bowler. I mean, he dominates most of the stuff that's around here. He's figured out how to use that ball and other balls. The Purple Hammer's not the only ball he uses, but he figured out how to use the bowl balls that he has to his advantage. And yes, he does use the Purple Hammer more than others, but I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, I would if I could. If I had that kind of ball. I tried to use it this weekend. There were times I tried to pull it out, and if I could have used it and it looked good, why wouldn't I? So you can't blame guys for using bowling balls that are technically legal and, give them that kind of a look. Shoot. We're trying to win, right? We're not trying to, oh, well, you think it's unfair, so I'm not going to use this ball just because you simply don't like it. Screw that. No, that's just not how it works. But anyway. This 2022 report follows up on previous USBC research demonstrating urethane shells, balls drop in hardness after use. Reactive shell balls have less significant change, showing little to no drop in hardness after use. And then what's cool about this is they actually did a study where they dropped oil on the shell, and then they wiped the oil after some hours or whatever. They wiped the oil off of the urethane shell and then test the hardness, and they did see that it got softer because of the oil alone. They did the same thing to reactive balls, but they didn't have to wipe off the reactive ball because the reactive ball soaked it in. And the reactive ball, the hardness didn't change much or at all, really, with the oil. So that's kind of like what I was talking about with wiping the ball off and, all that. That shows that it doesn't change the hardness, but does it change the surface itself? When I did a test similar to this, we took a reactive ball that I just resurfaced, and got it to the surface that I wanted. And then we took a little bit of lane oil and kind of just smeared some in the track area, like where it would normally be or whatever. And then wiped it off, let it sit for a few seconds, let it soak in a little bit, and then wiped it off. We tested the surface beforehand, and it was, let's call it like 600. And then we tested it afterwards, after putting the oil on it and everything, and that surface did get higher. So, I mean, that alone tells me that the oil impacts the surface of it. I mean, I had somebody arguing with me saying the oil doesn't impact the surface. I've seen it myself. Is it enough to change ball reaction? I mean, it's pretty obvious that if oil's sitting on the ball in the front part, before it soaks in, it's obviously going to change it. I think it changes it whether it soaks in or not. Maybe it doesn't change it as much once it's already soaked into the cover stock, but it does change it a little bit, just from my experience and everything I'm seeing. So that's just that. So yeah, I mean, I like the fact that they're doing these studies, but I honestly don't feel like they are getting to the root problems of where we're at. These cover stocks are just too strong, causing us to use a whole lot more lane oil. The cores are too strong. I know manufacturers aren't going to want to hear that. They want to be able to see technology get better, so that way they can continue to come out with new stuff, so that way they can continue to sell more and more bowling balls, which why you see so many bowling balls coming out, because they're coming up with new stuff. Like Brunswick just came up with that new cover stock on that Defense, or the Defender Hybrid, and it's clear that cover is different than any of their other covers. So it's cool that they're able to do these things. Unfortunately, for the integrity of the sport, to keep the game as simple and skill-based as possible, I don't see all this technology helping the sport to keep it skill-based. Because it's just like we've always talked about. And I know some crazy person's gonna come on here and be like, "Oh, it's still the bowler. You still got to throw it." That's true. You absolutely have to throw it. You can't just go out there and just chuck it all over the place and think you're gonna go win a PBA event, although that has happened. But I mean, it's still a skill set to find the correct ball to match up the rev rate with the rotation in the right part of the lane. Correct. But if somebody just happens to grab the right ball and just happens to be in the right place at the right time, they could score lights out. Maybe it's only for a block or whatever, but I don't know. I mean, this is a debate we could go on and on about forever. Probably not something we want to do right now. Maybe we'll do that in a live or something, maybe, but not right now. But I just kind of wanted to go through this. What they say here, USBC equipment specifications are designed to set boundaries on the manufacturing of bowling equipment. Manufactured hardness is a physical property of bowling balls that has clearly been demonstrated to have performance implications. Therefore, it is essential that manufacturing regulation in this area continues to ensure that the performance range allowed for bowling balls is maintained. I agree, 100%. But like I said, I think this is just a small portion that goes into this that needed to be addressed. But kudos to them for at least addressing something. A couple of years of research on this, though. A lot of money spent on it, I'm sure. But that's neither here nor there. But I'm going to get out of here. I just wanted to show you this. There are a few videos that they posted that go and explain this in a little bit more depth. If you come to their website here, I think... let's go to the full report here down at the bottom. Yeah, and then there's videos. If you click the full report, there are videos you can watch. I think there's supposed to be 3. Yeah, there is. There's 3 different videos, part 1, part 2, and part 3. I watched part 1 and part 2. I haven't watched part 3 yet. I couldn't find part 3 on my phone. So I'm going to click on part 3 here, and I'll watch that here in a little bit. But yeah, go watch these. They kind of explain what they did, the process and everything. I think is a pretty good explanation and everything, so everybody can kind of understand what the hardness and stuff does for bowling. But I'm out of here, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about this. Is this important? Is it not? But until next time, I'm getting out of here. We'll see you guys later.